moment. So yeah.
Live streamed. Okay.
Yeah. Of course, the other thing I have to keep an eye out for is like the web page automatically directs to the YouTube link, so I have to delete that. So the audio, you know,
Right. There we go.
that
Watch now. Everything Geek podcast with this guy, Matthew M. Garcia.
yeah, well, they'd be hearing doubles of us if I left the YouTube link up. Okay,
Yep.
so what's Zoom telling us? Um, okay, more than a few seconds at the moment. It's been unusually slow.
It happens. And you're in London? Is that where you are?
I'm in Dublin, Republic of Ireland, actually, but
Oh,
it's the same time zone, so it usually just comes up as London.
no,
like the t-
I've been to Dublin. I spent like a week in Dublin. I love Dublin.
Nice, yeah, yeah,
Beautiful. It's beautiful out there. Green. When it's not raining, it's green as all get out. It's amazing.
yeah,
It's gorgeous.
absolutely, yeah. Yeah, it's definitely really nice. Yeah, I assume you're looking at the time zone thing, and because we have the same time zone, they just automatically call it London, I think, on Zoom.
They're
So
like, yeah, he's in London. That's fine.
yeah. Okay, I think we might be live, although although Zoom and YouTube are being funny with me. They're not properly telling me that we're live, which is unusual. I usually get a pop-up in the top left corner of Zoom.
Right.
Okay, we are live. I just
And we're
checked
doing it.
YouTube.
And it's
uh,
happening. Perfect.
yeah, okay. So, hello everyone. Welcome back to the Everything Geek podcast. I'm your host, Ruari, and joining me today is a very special guest. We have Matthew M. Garcia, best known for playing an Imperial Tech and Stormtrooper number 2 in Star Wars The Bad Batch, Bob Blunt in the Zompocalypse Therapy Sessions, Fight Instigator in the Barracks, Johnny, Hanson, Castro, and Raulph Haria in Everyone Wants Theirs, Jacob in Grounded, Jeremy in Private Sales, Josh in What I Want to Tell You, and Jason in Geeks. Matthew's behind the scenes credits include a production assistant and still photographer on the Apocalypse Therapy Sessions and a producer on Geeks. How are you today, Matthew?
I'm doing great. How are you, man?
I'm doing very well, thank you. It's a pleasure to have you on the show today for your first Star Wars interview.
Yeah, it's rad. I'm super stoked.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're super stoked to have you on the show today. Looking forward to talking lots of Star Wars. But first of all, can you tell me how you got into acting and filmmaking?
Yeah, I mean, it starts as easy as I have two younger siblings, and you just, you put on silly plays for your parents and stuff at holidays and things like that. And then I was raised in the church, and so, you need like a sheep for the manger scene or whatever, and you just kind of go on and on and on. I really started acting in high school. I had a teacher, Miss Carson, freshman in high school, and she said like, "Hey, join the drama club and join the improv team or improv club." And I did, and it was great, and I loved it. And honestly, it was an easy way to meet girls, and it was a blast. And so I did that, and then me and my buddy at the time, Dane, uh, whose father was the big guy who gave MacGyver his missions. His father was an actor. Me and him were the only two freshmen to get into the play, the production that year. And it was Chekhov and Simon's The Sneeze. And I'm pretty expressive. I do a lot of voiceover work, but do a lot of front of the camera. And basically every night I'm doing this like slow motion sneeze on this guy way above my station. And it was just destroying the crowd. It was amazing. People were loving it. And I'm like, oh, well, this is the validation I need. I need to do this forever. And so I basically continued on from there and there. Um, Theater training at Rubicon Theater in Ventura. I'm from California. And I continued to go on and get into radio up in Santa Barbara and then back to LA area, on and on and on, and upward we went.
Yeah, absolutely. That's brilliant. And yeah, I mean, those experiences just sound incredible. I mean, it's amazing what can, happen just from doing something because you want to meet girls, it all
I
spirals from there.
it I'm not anything amazing now, but there was a lot more acne and braces at the time, and it wasn't all as good. I'll say that. It was fun though.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of us go through those phases, though. You know, the acne, I still have some at times. You know,
We all do.
yeah, I'm glad the camera can obscure it unless it's super close up. But
You're fine. You're fine, man. Amazing.
yeah, I think we all go through those phases. You know, teenage years and all
Absolutely.
that.
Absolutely. Even before that, I'd say, so again, I had two younger siblings. So growing up, my dad worked crazy hard. He owns a heating and air conditioning business, and my mom is a teacher, and they worked both very hard. And so every Friday night, the whole time we'd kind of all get together is we go to Blockbuster Video and we'd rent, this is how old I am, Blockbuster Video, and we'd rent a boy movie and a girl movie because my sisters were younger. And so we'd watch the quote unquote girl movie first. So we all as a family, and then they'd go to bed. And then me and my dad would stay up and we'd watch like, Terminator 2 or RoboCop and like something that's like a little too mature for me, but he just needed a bro to watch it with. And I just remember like sharing those times with my dad and my family together. Movies really brought us together, and I wanted to be a part of a thing that did that for other people as well.
Yeah, that's brilliant. That's fantastic. Can you tell me
Oh.
how you were originally cast in The Bad Batch?
Yeah, so I'll take one step back. I had really good examples of professional actors in my circle. So in Ventura, I went to school with Kaylee Cuoco, who was Penny from The Big Bang Theory and a bunch of other amazing shows. She was in my school. I remember her getting time off to do Virtuosity with Denzel Washington and Russell Crowe. She was a little kid, and it was like a private Christian school, and her parents didn't let her go to the premiere because it was a rated R movie. So I remember her being all angry. She couldn't go to the premiere of the movie that she was in because when you're on set, it's you have makeup, painting blood and squibs and all the things. It's not real. It's the editing that really brings it to life and creates a great sense of violence and things like that. So I remember that. And then, like I said, I grew up in the church. Zachary Levi, Shazam, Chuck, things like that. He went to my church. He was Joseph in our play. So he would show us failed pilots that he did. And he was always just like, he was so open about like sharing things in his acting and his journey. And I'm like, dude, I had two great examples of people that were very already, when I hadn't even done like a web series yet, were already in the professional realm doing their thing. And it really motivated me to try and always push and to share. So now bringing it to your question, saying like, how did I get started? So I'm in California. I still kind of bartend on the side and things like that. And I'm shamelessly self-promoting all the times because you never know who you talk to, and it's very nice and it's just networking. And I do genuinely love people. So one day this guy's coming in and he's like, oh, whatever, blah, blah. He's a big personality. And I'm just kind of talking. And he comes in a lot. And this goes on for like 2 years, just a buddy at the pub, hanging out, doing his thing. I'm serving him drinks. And I know he's a writer. I know he loves movies. He has very hard takes on movies, very opinionated in the best ways. And I'm like, showing little things on my phone. I'm like, oh, I shot this short, or I finished this feature. Look at some of the behind the scenes photos I took, things like that. And he's like, oh, it's so cool, whatever. And I remember I had shot a horror short with my buddy Stuart Ortiz, who was one of the lead editors for Shudder. He's a director of a couple of features. He's actually a director of a feature that I'm in coming out to Fantastic Fest. And I was showing my buddy this at the bar, and he's like, oh, he's a big personality. And he's just like, oh, like, I love it. You want to be the voice of a stormtrooper? And I'm like, I'm sorry, what? Like, let me go scream in the back real quick. Like, yeah, I don't know if you can see, but I literally have a TIE fighter like tattooed on my arm right here.
Yeah,
So,
brilliant.
yeah. So, and I've had that for a minute. So I was just, cool, play it cool, whatever. Yeah, that'd be great. Until then, another, tequila soda, whatever. And just kept the, working. And 6 months go by. I never mentioned it again. You just like, he's just a guy and he's a regular and he's a friend. He's actually a friend. He had my contact information. And one week he's just like, I haven't forgot. Like, they're going to contact you next week. And I'm like, that would be rad. Of course. Great. Thank you. And sure enough, I got an email, blah, 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 Lucasfilm casting, which is, wait, can I cuss on this?
Yep, go for it.
Okay. It was a scream shit cry email, right? I'm just like, oh my God. Oh my, this is the thing. Oh wow. This is real. Okay. Be cool. Woo. And what was so cool is they talk about how luck is kind of like a combination of like preparation and timing and things like that. Earlier in my career, I had done radio for a number of years up in Santa Barbara. I got very comfortable behind a mic, hearing my own voice, things like that. And all that happened is I get this email, and I'd done smaller voiceover projects, and it said, "This guy recommended you. Please send over your material." And I'm like, okay. And so it wasn't a sure thing. He just cracked the door open because the guy's a writer, and he's like, "I don't care. Go ahead, go play." And I, thank God, had done training in obviously that one of the few workshops I had done when I moved to LA was a voiceover workshop. Honestly, it was my years doing radio that really helped me do it. And a lot of workshops in LA are just designed to take money from upcoming actors, and whatever. It was terrible. The demo that I got from it was like useless. I was like, what am I going to do with this? This is terrible. But your audio sounds way better than what I got that day. I'll say that. So going back to it, they're like, please send over all your material. Thank God I've been acting for about 12, 13 years at that time. I put all my stuff together. They asked for a resume. As an actor, a voiceover actor, it's usually a reel and a headshot. A resume, I haven't made in a minute. So I stayed up to like literally like 5 a.m. making a resume, and like all the things I'd done, like to the most minute little YouTube video that I had made that I did voiceover, everything just here. I shoved it all in the email, like, here, tell me I'm good and I can play. And my dogs. And sure enough, I got an email back. Sounds great. What do you do next Friday? And then screaming, and then I tried to play, I'll see what I can do. So yeah, that's kind of how I got in. It was mostly talking to strangers and having done years and years and years of preparation.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's brilliant. I love how you just randomly get off in a stormtrooper voice, like just there and then out of nowhere.
Well, it's like he'd seen the thing, and we talk Star Wars a lot. I'm sure you and I will talk some Star Wars, but it's like we have some hard opinions on that stuff, and he obviously likes some of the things I had to say, and I'm a fan. I'm it's on my body. I'm a fan. So to be able to play in that fandom, priceless, amazing.
Yeah. What I love about it as well is like with like smaller roles, no offense, like
Oh yeah, of course.
an Imperial technician or stormtroopers, they'd usually just like give those kind of voices to like the regular actors that are in the booth anyway. So
Oh yeah,
I love that the Bad Batch crew were like going outside the box and like casting, even for smaller roles, casting unique actors, giving them opportunities. Like I love
great.
that.
It was so cool. I completely agree. You usually see like one of the leads and then like 7 credits behind their name, right? Because they're like this guy, 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 this guy. They played everybody because it's so much more convenient. You're already behind the mic. You're already there. Studio hours are not cheap. And yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's what I just loved. Like, you just usually most of the time expect, the stormtrooper voice to be attached to one of the regular,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
actors there. And yet they're like casting so many, unique cast members on the Bad
Yep.
Batch.
It
Like,
was great.
yeah, it was brilliant. And as you were saying with the networking before, I mean, I love how you like know all these people, even going back to your childhood, like Katie Cuoco, Zachary Levi. It's like you've known them a long time.
Yeah, it's insane if you look at it like the like what are the odds like to know these people randomly, and like I'm not really by any means super close with those people now, but at one point I was, and it's great, and just like it was just the example they had given of like it can be done. There is hope. You could do this. You just have to try and put in the effort and do that, and that really sparked something in me because I love to talk and I'm bad at math. So there we go.
Yeah, we have that in common as well. Talking and maths,
Right.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean that's just brilliant. But so of course, as you've shown, you're a big Star Wars fan. Who were your
Yeah.
favorite characters growing up?
Oh God. Well, obviously, okay, so I remember me and my dad had recorded like Empire Strikes Back from the Disney Channel on VHS, and we would watch it all the time. I remember on the VHSs you could like write. I had like poorly scribbled Empire Strikes Back on the side, and obviously Empire has the introduction of Boba Fett, And as most guys my age, Boba Fett was awesome and mysterious and cool and badass. And you're like, what? That's awesome. And then Han, I like that he was kind of a scoundrel, scruffy looking nerf herder type of thing. And honestly, Wedge Antilles, the X-Wing pilot, I really liked Wedge. I thought Wedge was cool. I'm like, oh, they keep using this X-Wing pilot a lot. I really like that. Before I got Bad Batch, I had actually auditioned to be one of the pilots at Disneyland in their, I think it was in the Galaxy's, it was a Star Wars thing at Disneyland, just to be an X-Wing pilot. Like, it pops up on the thing. It's like, oh no, and one of those guys real quick. And just to have those auditions, I was so stoked. I'm like, oh, yeah, that'd be so dope. I didn't get it, but Bad Batch was great.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. I love that answer though, because of course, Boba Fett Han, I get that answer a lot, but
Yeah,
like Wedge Antilles, like that's a
Wedge
great
is dope,
answer.
dude.
Yeah, I've
Dude,
never
Wedge is great. Yeah, he was so cool. And he even had his own comic book spinoff. Speaking of the nerddom, I used to read like the novels that like are not canon now or whatever, but I used to read a bunch of those growing up. Like I was a big sci-fi nerd. I loved Isaac Asimov, Ray Bradbury, Frank Herbert, like all this stuff. Like Dune right now is killing it. I love it. But I read a lot of the Star Wars books because it was like an easy, safe thing for my parents to buy me to read. That wasn't like weird. And some of those have some really cool stories about some of the more auxiliary characters.
Yeah, absolutely. That's brilliant. Yeah, I love hearing Wedge to that answer though. That's really cool. Yeah, Wedge was great.
Yeah.
So what were you told about your parts of the Imperial Tech and Stormtrooper number 2 when you bit record your scenes for those scenes respectively?
So I went in. So the first episode I did Imperial Tech and I actually did some Stormtrooper lines as well. So what was really cool is I go in. Okay, I'll give you the full rundown. So get there. It's a button on a door. Like you're like, what? You say the password. Literally, they have like you sign a million NDAs. You say the password for the thing, and you get buzzed into this beautiful little reception area. It's not at Disney. It's not whatever. It's down in like Hollywood area, like near Universal Studios. And I get inside, and like most people, I've had jobs before. I did coffee. I still bartend. I do things like that. So I get inside, and like door opens, like, oh, hi Matthew. Like, oh, you're here from blah blah blah. Would you like to have a tea or coffee or anything like that? I'm like, yeah. And I'm just like a little overwhelmed. The imposter syndrome is very real. And I'm like, yeah, let's see what you got. So we go over to this like gorgeous little spread of like coffee, espresso machine, tea, things like that. I'm like, oh, do you make a good latte? And the guy's like, really? I'm like, cool. And because I've done coffee, I did Starbucks, I did Blue Bottle, things like that. I was just like, something to like make me feel centered. I was like, let me make you a latte. So I get there and I'm showing him like, oh, you want the paint to be like glossy, like the milk to be glossy like paint and whatever. I'm making the receptionist a latte. Make it and I press it and give it to him. I do a little latte art on top, give it to him. And he's like, oh, wow, this is so much better than I made. I'm like, oh, cool. That's, it. I'm just going to have a hot tea. So I have a hot tea. I sit down. One of the other voice actors comes in. We start chatting it up. And then Brad, the director of, I believe, episode 14 that I'm in, where I play the Imperial Tech, comes in. He's like, oh, hey, Matt. Hey, da-da-da. Go in. So, takes us back to this bigger soundstage. So we did ensemble recording. So it was me, the guy, and one of the leads. And it was so cool. So we're in there and they had their big old sound booth on the other side. So we're in like the little soundstage area. Engineer puts the mics there. They set up these little recorders for behind the scenes, whatever. So like I had a logo in my head, like, oh, can you turn your hat backwards? I was gonna turn it back for audio anyway, but I'm like, oh yeah, of course, blah, 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 whatever. And Brad, the director, he's so cool. You got to think this is all grown men playing make-believe, silly voices being paid. And so there's like no egos, and it's just like the most beautiful, pure place to play. And so he's like, hey, we're gonna have you do this line, Matt. You want to do an accent? Let's do an accent on the Imperial Tech. And I'm like, okay, sure. Like that imposter syndrome, whatever was, that was kind of gone. When I got in there, I'm like, oh, I know how to do this. I know how to play. And like, whatever. And so I do this like, uh, so the way they do it's like ABC record, or like, I think we did each line like 3 times, slightly different inflection. And it's like, Admiral Rampart, da 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 da. It's like, it was like, I like slipped into like this weird British thing because in my mind, Imperials were British because of the movies and things like that. And so like radio sweep of the area, like things like that. And he's like, yeah, it's great. And so they were just so kind and so like open, like lean more into the accent, have fun with it. And I'm like, this isn't in my back of my brain. I'm like, this is insane. They're saying play harder. Okay. So sure. So sure enough, it's I do some Imperial Tech stuff, and I think I do some Stormtrooper. Imperial Tech, it was I threw an accent on him, and then for the Stormtrooper, you basically play it like over here, it's like CHP, like a cop, like a police officer. You play them like, hey, what are you doing? Like just authority and you just play it very straightforward, like you're getting a speeding ticket. Hey, give me that thing. Stop it. What are you doing? And so, yeah, it was pretty easy direction, and it was very kind direction in that he's like, have fun with it, go harder, and do it. And then we're just kind of silently there watching the other actors and just like so stoked to be there. And my dogs are
Yeah.
happy too.
Yeah, that's absolutely fantastic though. I mean, yeah, what an experience to be there in the studio, recording with the other actors on Star Wars.
Dude, that was it. So literally, so we do the whole thing. I say thank you, thank you, thank you. I think this is the last time I'm ever doing this ever, right? I'm like, this is mountaintop experience. So rad. I'm part of I get to play in the thing I love, which has never happened, really before. And I leave and I get back to my car, which they valet park, by the way, brain exploding. And I sit in my driver's seat and I like literally like have this like that just happened. Oh my gosh. And I start to tear up because I was just so happy. And then I'm like, okay, cool. Okay. And then I got in and out and I drove home. And it was great. But I remember just being like literally overwhelmed that it was just such a cool, fun experience. It was the best.
Yeah,
So that's the first time I went in.
yeah, that's absolutely fantastic. And of course,
Yeah.
Imperial technicians and stormtroopers are such iconic parts of Star Wars, going all the way back
Yes.
to the original trilogy. What was it like getting to play those roles?
I mean, it was rad. Well, first off, Imperial Tech's like, they have the rad helmet, which slams back, similar to like the Imperial Gunners. They have like that cool helmet. Um, uh, it was just, it was rad. It's all like shrouded in secrecy when you do it. They give loose things, but like, okay, you're on this jungle base, it's whatever, like da da da. The guys are there, they're not supposed to be there. It's a surprise. They kind of give you rough setting, and then you're just kind of putting it all together in your mind. I'm like, okay, like I'm thinking like Endor-esque in my mind. I'm like, okay, tropical, okay, cool. And he's like, all right, they're there. We got to send stormtroopers out to the area. I have to inform the admiral. So I'm like respectful, but I'm also assertive because Imperial techs, I mean, all Imperials are kind of dicks. And so, yeah, it was great. They really, we hadn't really seen many of the animatics yet. It took them like a year to animate it. And then we went back and we did pickups, because sometimes like, oh, your character's near an engine. So you have to be like, yell it a little more or things like that. And so, but yeah, for the first one, it was just amazing. And then, yeah, go ahead. I'll tell you more. Just you're the man.
Yeah, but I was gonna say as well, like one thing I loved in the Bad Batch as well is like they introduced their own kind of evolution of the stormtrooper thing with the TK troopers. Like that was like really cool. You got to play a TK trooper.
Bro, yes. Yeah. Everybody is so cool. Everybody's so, and like the things that they added to the whole thing um was wonderful. To the whole universe was amazing. Besides obviously the main squad, which I would love to see in a live action. Like I mean, that'd be amazing, right? I would love to see live
Yeah.
action Bad Batch. How insane would that be? Just like it would just be like the most badass like SWAT, like Navy SEAL troopers just wrecking. I'm like, let's go. Like it would probably be like some of Rogue One meets like something else because but that would be amazing. I don't know, hugely loved it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we just got the Rebels in live action last year, most of those characters. So
Yeah, right.
never say never for live action Bad Batch. That would be great.
Definitely, definitely.
Yeah. So, I mean, you've talked a little bit about, your casting and your, reaction after your first recording session, but can you tell
Hmm.
us a bit more about your reaction to actually finding out you had been cast in Star Wars?
Yeah. Oh, dude. I mean, freaking out. So after it was literally all email. It was just like, okay, like Lucasfilm, whatever, casting email. And then it was just, oh my gosh. And then literally signing all the NDAs, like Disney, blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm like, oh, what? And just like, you're clicking and you're signing away. That was just like so huge. I'm like, this is like legit, legit, legit. Like I've done a lot of non-union and I'm part of the acting, I'm part of SAG now or SAG eligible now. And so it's great. And so just like it opened so many doors because they could, just because they were open to let relatively unknown actors like me play roles like that. And it was super amazing. So I did uh the first episode, I did episode 14. And then, a couple days go by and the writer came into the bar again. And he's like, "Oh, they said they said you did great. They had a blast with you. We're super fun." And I'm like, "Oh, cool, rad." And then they emailed me again and they're like, "Would you like to do another episode?" And I'm like, yes, please." Mhm. So it was amazing. So I mean, I like to think of it like one is a favor, like even if I was terrible, like they let me do one. But a second one is like they kind of like you, which is cool. So the second one, where I play the stormtrooper and the whole scene with the Zillo Beast, where we discover the kids in the ventilation shafts and things like that. Um, so rad. I loved how it was animated and things like that. So that was more playing a cop, right? But I'm talking to kids, and so you don't like yell at kids. You're like, "Sir, like they're only kids or whatever." And I'm doing all that, and then the Zellbeast comes out. I hop on the laser, trying to shoot it. Zellbeast isn't even affected, and I got to do a lot of like yells. Probably my favorite thing ever. Of course, being directed to do all the lines and stuff was amazing. But they asked me to do blaster reactions, like screams. And so I was just like, all right, guys, you're gonna have to stop me on this one. And it was just like, and then, like I was like, this is insane. Like the things I would do just for fun, being ridiculous. They're like, oh yeah, will you please do these for us so we can put them in Star Wars? And I'm like, I'm going to die right now. This is incredible. So yeah, that was so rad. That was the second time I went in. We added more stuff like that. It was great.
Yeah, that's absolutely fantastic. And you mentioned before about how they gave you a lot of freedom of coming up with the Imperial Tech's voice in particular, like
Yeah.
which was really cool that they had that trust in you. But can you tell me a
Mhm.
bit more about what your process was like bringing the Imperial Tech and your Stormtrooper to life?
Right. So the Imperial Tech, again, I slipped into this it was almost I think I slipped Australian at some point, but it was just like Admiral Rampart. It was like a deeper out the side of your mouth. In voiceover, you make a lot of silly faces when you make some of these faces because they're like bigger than life in a lot of ways. And so I I leaned into that more again, I think unconsciously kind of the British uh idea. British he's not really British, but it was just that unnatural thing. I wanted it to not sound like me. That was the biggest thing. I didn't want somebody to be like, "Oh, that's Matt talking," because I've heard my voice. So, and many people, and I've done radio, and like I've heard my voice. I don't want to hear me. I want to see a character, right? And it's a little harder in voiceover to hide behind that character, but it's easy. You just kind of, I think I closed my eyes at one point, and I'm just like, we need a radial sweep of the area, blah, 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 blah. And you just kind of do the whole thing. And it's like, oh, that's fun. Like, oh, hearing it. And of course, they have the best mics and the best headphones. And so it just really picks up the nuances. And so doing each time I did it, I kind of found something, oh, I like area, like pause more or whatever. And they give great little notes like that too. Just like give it a breath, but radial sweep in the area or whatever. And it was really good. The important part was I didn't want to hear myself as Imperial Tech. I wanted to do a voice, and of course, they were very good with that. And then I went a little gruffer for the Stormtrooper in the first one, which is it's just random small things. I mostly Stormtrooper 2 in the episode 15. But it was just like, sir, they're deeper register, more authoritative in my mind. It sounds more like my natural speaking voice, but like if I was like trying to be scary, I guess a little bit. But yeah, I didn't want to hear me as Imperial Tech though. I wanted to just enjoy watching it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's completely fair. What kind of direction were you given from the Bad Batch crew for playing both roles, respectively?
Again, so for that, on the spot, just really winged it. He was just like, Brad was such a very caring and kind director. He's just very, and I'm a day player, right, at this point. So I'm not a regular, I'm not supporting. I show up for the day and I play a character. And so you don't have to give that type of, I mean, at that level, you really don't have to give that type of attention and care. Then he was like, yeah, just go ahead. Have fun with it. He was just like so free. Of like, lean more into the accent, is what he said. I'm like, cool, down. Because like I was like, Admiral Rampart. And he's like, no, go on. He's like, Admiral Rampart. And he just like really bring it to life, like flesh out that guy. And like who this guy is a total dick. He's focused on his career. He's done it like you create this thing in your head. It's like this guy just wants to move up the ranks. He doesn't give a crap about like he's like these guys are scum. It's like the whole idea like rebel scum. That whole thing. Like this guy bought in 1,000% rebel scum. Screw these guys. I'm protecting the base. And so he just kind of gives those little tweaks and notes, areas to slow down, to speed up. I'm sure the first time I did it, I was like, oh, I'm ready to sweep up the area. And like I'm sure I kind of rushed it. I think when we're nervous, we tend to rush our speaking. We don't take the natural breaths and pauses that we tend to do in normal conversational English. And so, yeah, that I probably rushed it. And I think he's like, yeah, go do it. Just slow down. It's like, Admiral Rampart, radio sweep of the area. And just take a beat, enunciate each syllable type of thing, which was a lot of radio. I think radio really helped doing that, of just like, blah, 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 blah. Like I can talk very fast. Naturally, I think my cadence is very quick, but I don't know any quick talking Imperial Techs. So it was just like, okay, slow it down, rein it in, buddy. And let's just like push in on the authority that this guy believes he has and the directions he's giving.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me more about your experience working on the Bad Batch. Like you mentioned, you got to work with some of the other actors in the studio. Like, what was that like working with other actors with you?
I was fanboying out, literally just watching anybody do anything. So it was, I remember, I mean, it's been a year and a half, 2 years. It was great, literally. So basically, when we're not talking, when we're not saying our lines, I'm sure we're completely muted and whatever. But it was just like we're all there, so I could have like coughed or sneezed or whatever, and you're just like trying to be as quiet as you possibly can, like breathe lightly, to not ruin a take, to not impede on their process, to not whatever. The other guy I was there with was a day player as well. And he was great. And he was another trooper and doing some other stuff. And I think he came back for another episode as well, but I wasn't there when he was there. But it was great. It was just enjoying that and just wanting to see it. I think in the back of my mind, I just wanted to see it. So when I got the role, I'd watched a lot of Star Wars before. I'd played a lot of the games. Growing up, I mean, Shadow of the Empire on N64. I mean, the Super Nintendo, Super Return of the Jedi was great. Dark Forces I had for my Power Mac. That's how ancient I am. And I remember seeing X-Wing, like I think Rogue Squadron on the N64 was like huge. Like blew my brain when I first saw it for the first time. And then I'm just like trying to piece all these things together. I played a lot of Star Wars Battlefront. I played a lot of these other things. And so I'm just like, what does this look like? I'm just imagining it in my head and then just trying not to, when they're saying their characters' voices, just trying to imagine what they're saying and, just enjoy it. honestly. Be quiet and enjoy it. And I think acting is reacting, right? And it's like it's one of those times where you're not reacting. You're just be quiet and let these people perform and just enjoy it. And yeah, it's like watching a play.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. So, what has it meant for you to be part of Star Wars, and what did you enjoy the most about working on the Bad Batch?
Um, it's huge to work on Star Wars because again, it's like one of my favorite franchises of all time. And it really, in some ways, it really gave hope to A New Hope. Gave hope, give hope to. There's good people in the industry. There's good people that are willing to open doors that are just cool. Like, be nice, be kind, work hard, and maybe something will happen. And that was it. Like, I had to be. I mean, I was showing this guy's like project after project just randomly and talking about movies. I love movies. I try to see a movie every week. Um, and just so I can stay up on current events, kind of see what people are talking about, what people work on. Um, I live in California. I lived like in the valley, they say outside of LA, and it's where everybody behind the camera usually lives. So the sound guys, the boom, the gaffers, the cinematographers, the studio techs, all these things, and a lot of actors. And so like I have no idea who I'm talking to all the time. And it was just like always be kind, be nice, be respectful. If you hate a movie, that guy may have written that movie. So think of something cool to say about the movie, something genuine, like, oh man, their concept art was awesome. I love the poster. If the movie's garbage, but the poster was so sick. Um, find something positive to say because it's so easy to be negative. It's so easy to be negative and down about things in the industry. And if you can just be positive, be nice, be chill, be honest, maybe somebody will see that and whatever. I'd say I've been doing it for like 13 years, acting professionally, and about 40% of my acting is callback. People, hey, I worked on you on a thing. Would you like to do this thing? And I'm like, yes, please. And so it's just like, it just reinforced like that concept of like, hey, be cool, be nice, like have fun. Um, Star Wars, and to be at that level just from being a nice, cool, professional actor. That's it. That's literally what got it, was being a nice, cool, professional actor that worked hard. And I got into one of the greatest franchises of all time, which is insane.
Yeah,
So insanely lucky. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. That's Vindel. I think that's just a really good life lesson. Like I
Yeah.
mean, it's so easy to be negative or like put a bad image of yourself out there, but
Hmm.
like just be positive. Talk nice to them. Don't
Right.
slaughter their interests. Like it's just
It's
you know, be a good person.
yeah, it sounds so much easier than it is. I mean, on our side, acting voiceovers, like it's all auditions. It's all like asking people if you can play, which is weird, which gets really, really jading. I think before COVID and all that, and by the way, I'm glad you're feeling better.
Thank you.
Before COVID, I was driving down to audition. I would go into LA and I would sit in a room with 20 other versions of myself and hear the guy in the room doing it. It's like, is he crying? Is he what role is he? Is that should I cry? What's happening? And you're just like, it was terrible in a lot of ways. And then COVID changed it to all self tapes. And so now it's like I do this. I record myself and I send it to a stranger for money, hopefully. Right. And you don't get no's at that much. Like casting directors don't be like, oh, well, we actually went another direction. You just don't hear anything. You're just ghosted. Or if you book something, it's like 4 months later, and you're like, wait, oh, I already thought they wanted somebody else and they shot this. Oh, yes, I would love to do this. What is this again? What did I just get? And it's amazing. So just not being jaded is huge, and being able to find the good in things and stay productive. I think that was another big thing. Like I on my TikTok and my Instagram, I do these movie raps. Like I am not a rapper, but I can write silly things that rhyme, and I love seeing movies, so I'm like, I might as well do it. Um, my first acting gig ever, I did a Crest, like an online Crest commercial where I surf with a toothbrush in my mouth and in pajamas. It was like mint chocolate Trek. I remember mint chocolate Trek by Crest. And the money I got from that, I like literally, I got a check and I cried. And then I bought an iPad because I knew I could record and edit from an iPad. And I started a YouTube channel talking about movies. And I would say the good and the bad, and like see it in a theater, see it on streaming, or don't see it. Right. So it's just like, it's worth your time, it's worth your money, or it's not really worth it. And like 95% of things, I'm like, yeah, it's at least worth your time. Like I want to be in these movies. I don't want to crap all over them. And I'm going to give honest talks. Like the editing here was kind of weird. And like, oh, that was a weird choice. But also, you can find stuff to love. It's art. It's subjective. Because you don't like a movie doesn't make it a bad movie. It just means you didn't like it. And it's just like, and I've been in some bad movies.
Yeah. Yeah. I think in a way that's like in current society, that's like something that's getting lost a lot. It's like, if people don't like something, they think, everyone must hate it or something. So they like absolutely trash it or whatever. But it's just like
Right.
art is subjective. Like you're not going to like everything. You're not going to
Yeah,
hate
exactly.
everything.
Right. Or maybe it wasn't made for you. You're not the demographic, buddy. Like, I'm 40 and I'd say a lot of Star Wars might not be geared towards me right now. And that's okay. Like Andor, that's my shit. Let's go. Like, and that's a Rebel, but like, there was Rebels, there was obviously Bad Batch is more mature. I was so stoked I got into one like I was actually a fan of, which is huge. And any of the video games they do, I will, I'm right there. Oh gosh. But yeah, I think, maybe not all the new Star Wars coming out are maybe geared towards a 42-year-old guy, and that's okay. So yeah, I don't know, it's unique.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. Which scene or scenes did you most enjoy recording for the Bad Batch?
Uh, the Bad Batch stuff, I really enjoyed recording the Zillow Beast scenes in the last episode. So I got to be a stormtrooper in this big escape sequence in the very last episode of the entire series of Bad Batch, which was so dope. So cool. And so yeah, and it was cool. It was the, hey, did you hear that? And, I'm just like, hey, did you hear that? And then go over to the ventilation. I find the kids that are escaping, um, and report back. And then the Zilla Beast is being released, and it's just there's so many things happen. I got to do a lot of things: run, talk, scream, report, shoot, die. Like it checked all the boxes. It was the best.
Yeah, absolutely. That's brilliant. And I grew up on the Clone Wars, like where the Zillo
Oh,
Beast
bro.
originated. So, like, I love that they
Yes.
brought the Zillo Beast back.
Yep. 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 I had to
Yeah,
think. I'm like, wait, I know what that is. I did. I have some friends who did some live action fan fiction or fan Star Wars films. One's called Sand of Fate. The other one is, oh gosh, what is it? Same director, but it's like the guy who had the Rancor in Jedi, like the story of like him as a kid raising the Rancor. You know how he's like,
no,
oh, he's like sad that Luke
yeah,
kills it,
yeah.
and like that is that guy's
Malakili.
story. Yeah, that guy's story. And it's like the world is so huge that you can just have a 12-minute movie about that guy and what his life was growing up with this Rancor. And that it's so cool. So yeah, and I got to meet Chris Bartlett through that, which is the voice of C3PO. And he's great. It was so cool. I got to meet him at this premiere for this thing. And I was like, oh, like, I got to do some Bad Batch. He's like, I did some Bad Batch. And he was like, or no, he's like, you did Bad Batch? That's rad. And I'm like, bro, you are literally C3PO right now. You're excited. I'd get out of here with this. Get out of here. And so no, we're friends on Instagram now and talk a little bit. But it's just like, it's when the people you look up to become some of your peers. That's rad, dude. That's amazing.
Yeah,
It's where you
yeah.
can just, yeah, reach out to some of the people that you were just like, oh my God, like that's really cool.
Yeah, the networking is just super great as well with that for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Homeboy's doing like a billion cons all the time.
Yeah, absolutely
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah,
So as we've mentioned before, you worked on the last two episodes of the Bad Batch as a whole.
yeah.
Flash Strike and the Cavalry has arrived. What was it like joining the cast when the show is near its conclusion?
It is. So it was a little, honestly, when they did my scenes, it was more isolated. So the first time I went in, there was three of us, and then it was me solo for the last episode and for the pickup sessions. So we went in, did episode 14, then did episode 15, and then like a year later, they had us do pickups, and that was two other sessions, and it was just me because it basically had what they wanted from the team, from the guys and the main leads, and then it was just like tightening up the screws throughout to kind of bring it all to life. And I think they crushed it. I think it was so good. I loved all of it, and how she joins the rebels at the end, so good. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely for sure. I love the I love the conclusion to the Bad Batch.
Yeah.
So were the Bad Batch crew and Lucasfilm secretive about the events going on and only showed you your lines? Were you given an idea of what would happen from the script?
No, I only got my sides, my lines, and they have like your name printed on it like a billion times and just like don't let this leak type of thing. Um, you couldn't take any of your lines, and they're out of context, but you couldn't take anything out of the studio. Basically, turn off your phone and everything. There, it's just locked doors, secret words, passwords type of thing the whole way in. And I mean, understandable. Like I'm a fan, but I'm not like gonna break into Lucas Ranch and try to steal something. Like but there's people that do that, and I'm like, all right, so you don't know what kind of fan I am, so sure, be secretive, be respectful. I would never try to spoil anything like that for anybody, but I you know I know people do, so they just take that into account that like everybody's a person, we get it, we're not really going to give you the opportunity, so they kind of yeah, just kind of break it up into pieces where they compartmentalize basically what you know and just kind of tell you on the day and still don't even fully give you the full picture.
Yeah, absolutely for sure. Like I imagined you only got your own lines, but you never know. But of course, Lucasfilm so
Yeah,
secretive as they have to be, really.
right. I think for 14, because it was back and forth, I think it was like I got, Admiral Rampart talking to me or something like that. So it was two characters. I'm like, oh, but that was it. And then
Yeah.
it was all like just Stormtrooper stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you might be thinking of Hemlock, though, the other Imperial
Oh,
officer,
yeah.
Royce
Yeah.
Hemlock.
Yeah. Hemlock was there. You're right. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Hemlock was there. Hemlock, the voice of Hemlock. Yeah. That's right. Yeah. It was so good, dude.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, Hemlock and Rampart were both great villains, so yeah,
Yes. Yes.
yeah,
Oh, perfect.
yeah. So what was it like getting to be part of the Bad Batch's final season, knowing it was coming to an end?
At the time of recording, I didn't know it was the final season. And then when they started releasing the key art and promotional material for season three, it became evident, obviously. And I was like, oh, dude, what? And honestly, in the back of your head, uh, you never know, like, if you end up on the cutting room floor. Like, so I went in and I recorded stuff. And as an actor or a voiceover artist or whatever, you do your best and you do your thing, but it's going to be at the hands of the editor and director at the end of the day. Like they're going to craft the story all the way. And I know because I've edited and I've been part of those processes where like, oh my God, this performance was so good, but like it doesn't fit, or like for time we had to cut this whole thing or whatever. Now they're very streamlined and they have storyboards and animatics and things like that. So it's usually not that whatever, but it's just like, did I get recast? Did whatever? Like maybe they didn't like it. I don't know. Like, oh, why did I do the stupid accent? Whatever. And so a little bit of that is there because it's like a year plus of waiting. And they're like, I don't know. Like, is this it? And then you find out it's the last season. I'm like, okay, cool. Am I still in the last season? And then yeah, and then eventually, I'd never even seen it until it was on Disney Plus. So until that came out, I'm like, oh, that's me. Let's go. Let's go. Like that was super rad. And then I was stoked. But yeah, I mean, even on our side, if you go in and you record and you do your whole thing, like you're getting paid no matter what, whether it's in the final product or not. And so, and I'm not like a big enough character at all to, go to like a premiere or anything like that. So it was a little like bummed that it was finishing, but I just wanted to at least still be in it, like bittersweet. Totally.
Yeah, of course, for sure. What would you say are your favorite memories from your time working on the Bad Batch?
Um, I would say probably the blaster reactions was the best, and honestly, watching it with my wife on Disney Plus. I'm like, that's me. Let's go. And then yeah, with her and the dogs for the very last episode. I'm like, my guy, yeah. So that's cool. Yeah, just really being able to sit back and enjoy it as a fan a little bit and just being like, I'm in there a little bit. That's cool. And some of my buddies were like freaking out a little bit too. That was cool.
Yeah, that's fantastic. What would you say were the biggest challenges you faced working on the Bad Batch?
Let's see. I would say um initially just like nerves, like that imposter syndrome thing, like that actors get, like, do I deserve to be here? Things like that. Like they're gonna figure out I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just saying stupid voices. Rah. And getting through that, because I had a little time to think about it and whatever. But thankfully, I had some training and I could kind of fool myself into like, no, like you're good at this, you do this, this is fine. You literally had done hundreds of hours of radio, like you can talk, like you can be in the thing. And I'm like, yeah, okay. And just kind of talking myself into it. I was never like not gonna do it, but it was just like having the confidence to be like, no, I deserve to be here, I deserve to be in this room, I deserve to be working for Disney, working in Star Wars, I deserve to do that. Was huge. And if they didn't want me, they'd recast me. And if they don't like me, they won't use me. And that's okay. I get to have this moment. And so just getting to that point of acceptance in my own abilities and just in the process of just like, hey, this is really cool no matter what. Like if I wouldn't have gone in that first day, almost cried at the end, whatever, I still went in and I did a thing and I did my best and I had fun. And that I always have that memory. Thank God they got to use it and that was rad and it's in the thing and it's in the series. But even if it didn't make it, just being content, finding a place of contentment. And again, I think acceptance. I think one of the tenets of like AA and things like that, I'm not part of it, but I listen to some podcasts and stuff that spout some of the virtues. And it's like a key to all my problems is just acceptance. Hey, you can't really control if you're in it. You can't control if they cut you out of it. All you can do is control what you do and have fun and how you feel about it. And so that was a big thing of just, hey, if it's out of my hands, it's out of my hands. And I'm just going to do my best and have fun. And I did. And they used it. And that was great. So just getting to that point of acceptance was huge.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. So, how does it feel to have been part of the amazing Star Wars animated show on Disney Plus with the Bad Batch?
Insane. Again, Galaxy's Edge at Disneyland is huge. Me and my wife have passes, so we go there, and I'm like, I'm kind of like in this. Like, I'm kind of part of the thing, and that is just so amazing to be a baby part of that thing that you love. It's incredible. It's everything, and I want to do more. The team behind the Bad Batch and a lot of the animation in those things, they also do a lot of the voiceover work and for video games. And on my other arm, we can tell, I have Metal Gear Solid over here. I have Snake, and I have Tonberries and Cactars and Cowboy Bebop, and it's all anime and video games. Everything that kept girls away in high school is now tattooed on my body, and they're okay with it. And it's the best, and that's the area I want to do. So what Star Wars has really done in a lot of ways, and Bad Batch and Brad and everybody's great, um, is give me the confidence to kind of pursue being more in high level animation and things like that, pursuing new representation, um, getting into some of that stuff. So I just want to do more and more voiceover. I am again mainly been in front of the camera. But Star Wars has really made me want to, and it's a great credit on IMDb to move forward in more of the animation stuff, which I'm a huge anime nerd. Huge. I have Berserk tattoos. I have Fully Cooley. I have Akira. Obviously, I have tons of anime tattoos. I'm like, to be a voice of an anime character, that would probably be one of my next big goals of something that somebody liked. So yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. Anime is great as well. Yeah, we
yeah.
love doing anime content on the podcast too. But
Yeah, I know. I've creeped your stuff. I love it.
thanks. But yeah, no, that's absolutely brilliant. But of course, Star Wars, as always, there's a lot of upcoming content on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
We've got the likes of more Ahsoka and Andor, plus other shows coming up like Skeleton Crew, plus films
Matt.
coming, plus films coming up like The Mandalorian and Grogu and others. So,
Uh-huh.
as a Star Wars fan yourself, which characters would you like to see get Star Wars
Oh,
shows or films?
holy shit. I would, well, first off, Andor season two, I'm probably the most excited for. That was kind of this beautiful mesh of kind of Blade Runner meets Star Wars, kind of a slower paced, gritty, cyberpunk-esque at times vibe. And then oh gosh, what do I want? I mean, I know there were talks of like a Wedge series at one point. I knew some guys that worked on Ahsoka and Skeleton Crew. I know they were doing those at the same time. Um, Honestly, the themes in Acolyte I really like. I also like in the books. There's a lot of talks of like the Jedi Temple and stuff that Luke did, and Han and Leia's kids and things like that. I think that would be really cool to kind of flesh out more themes that like Ahsoka kind of covered in some ways. Obviously, uh, I mean, the Mandalorian and Grogu movie is going to be dope. I really want them to keep with Pedro Pascal doing that, and I know he's becoming more and more of an amazing uh, well, amazingly hard to get, I'm sure. Between Last of Us, Fantastic Four, and all these things like that, he's killing it. And I actually heard he took off his helmet. It was like his choice for Mandalorian because they were going to pay him as a voice actor because you never see his face, and so he took it off so that they'd have to pay him like full SAG scale, whatever. So I respect the guy, and he's a hard worker, and he's amazing. And obviously, I love Last of Us and stuff, and he did a great job as Joel, or is doing a great job as Joel. And so, yeah, dude, I don't know. I'd like to see like maybe like a Wedge series would be really dope, and then I would really like to see. I mean, there's just so much like more. I mean, I love bounty hunter content. It's just so good, and I like that they brought in IG-88. They brought in a lot of stuff over there. Um, I don't know, man. I mean, you could even do like an F1 series based on like pod racing. You could have it just like fully like insane like that. There's so many opportunities. The world is so big. I don't know, but I'm really liking what obviously the live action stuff has been going. I'm most excited, I think, for the games. I think Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor, like those are just like so good, dude. Some of the coolest stuff. Force Unleashed back in the day. I used to, I mean, love or hate EA. I respect it. I played a lot of Battlefront, and I don't know. I really am excited for the games. I'm gonna love the movies. I mean, Daisy Ridley, I'm gonna see 10. I'm gonna see whatever. I'm gonna see them no matter what. I'm gonna see the Star Wars movies. I will see them. But things that I might most personally enjoy might be the games because I think it's some of the best writing, and you get to be the character more. You get to invest yourself in that hero mindset a little bit better.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. Now that you've put it out there, I think we need more pod racing content.
Right? I mean, there was like the N64 one, right? And that's it. Like, how dope would like a PS5 like pod racing game be right now? It'd be insane.
Yeah,
Like Forza
absolutely.
or like Gran Turismo pod racing. Like, let's go. Like, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of the people, kids like me, are now adults.
Right.
Pod racing is cool now.
Yeah, dude, totally. Totally. I think that would be great.
Yeah, and I actually only just noticed the tech on your T-shirt.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, my
not
buddy got me that. Yeah.
yeah, not quite
Rest in
your
peace.
Imperial Tech, but the
Nah,
closest
not right.
thing.
Yeah, the other tech. The
Yeah,
other tech. He was
yeah,
he was pretty great.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. R.I.P. Good Tech.
Yeah, I know. Gnarly.
Yeah, yeah. And here I've got lots and lots of different troopers.
Yeah,
This
yeah. I
shirt
see it. I saw the shirt.
has like four columns. It just goes on and on.
That's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, I can't. It won't even all fit on the camera.
Yeah, I love it. That's great.
Yeah. So outside of Star Wars, your other acting credits include the Zompocalypse Therapy Sessions, the Barracks, Johnny Everyone Wants Theirs, and so much more. What have been your favorite roles in your career so far?
Um, One of my favorite roles that I got to do a lot of things like I really liked was a new feature coming out called Strange Harvest. I believe it's premiering at Fantastic Fest, if I can talk about that. So I play this guy, Siraj Malik, who's a security guard. The character is fine, it's supporting, but like the things I got to do was rad. I die really cool. And I got to do the live face mold thing where they put the plaster, they put the like the goo on your face and they plaster your face. And then they put that on the prosthetic of the dummy. And so I got to basically see myself as a dead body and they kind of like digitally manipulated it to make it perfect. That was rad. That was like another like checked a really cool acting guy box. Um, Everything I do with Stuart Ortiz is really, really fun. He did another short, which we don't have on IMDb, but it's called Swipe Fiend, which is about this guy like on a dating app that swipes on a monster basically that like kills him. It's great, and I played a total douchebag that dies, and it was great. And honestly, there are aspects of Zompocalypse Therapy Session, which is on Amazon Prime, which you can watch. I'm a lead in that. We shot it right out of COVID in the States, and I got to meet this great guy, the other male lead. This guy, Clark Moore, is in it, and it was a wonderful time just networking and playing and just being ridiculous and acting again, and it was just so fun. Uh, Blaze, with the director was one of the leads, and she was great and it's fun. It wanted to be like a Shaun of the Dead type thing. I don't know if it really achieved that, but there are some really good aspects in the movie and the Zompocalypse Therapy Sessions. And then I'm in some other things coming out soon too, so that'll be cool. But looking forward to Strange Harvest, and then Zompocalypse has some moments, mostly from the networking I was able to do with it, because I really like again Clark Moore, and I really respect the director and friend Stuart Ortiz.
Yeah, absolutely. That's brilliant. So you've also done filmmaking, including on the likes of the Apocalypse Therapy Sessions and Geeks.
Yeah.
What inspired you to get into filmmaking as well?
I think starting off, you kind of do all aspects of everything, right? So I had some friends in like film school, and you just kind of, hey, do you need me to bounce the light over here? Want me to hold the boom over here? Like you just do whatever you can do to make the thing. You become a utilitarian, like a jack of all trades, right? And starting off, I think a lot of us do that. Like we learn to edit, me and you before we talked about learning editing and like whatever. Like I still edit my own reels. I still do a lot of those things. Like out of necessity, I don't have, when you start off, you don't have a team. You come up with a cool idea, you write a thing, and like, hey, buddy, will you help me do this thing? And you shoot it in a park or whatever. I remember like one of the first things I ever did, I was like, oh gosh, man, like 15, 16 years ago, probably. And like I'm in like a park and there's like snake people and I'm like being choked out and the guy's holding like a shaky rebel, camera, and you're just like, yeah, you just kind of do it all. And I I heard from Jeff Bridges on a podcast when he's on set, he takes his camera and he takes photography of people behind the scenes and characters on set and things like that. And I really like that concept because again, it's like kind of celebrating the art, like celebrating the things behind the scenes people don't see, the makeup artists, the it's how many cinematographers have good pictures of them, or or whatever. And so, especially on Zompocalypse Therapy Sessions, you have a bunch of zombies, right? And you have people in cool makeup and whatever. And like Steve from Utah wants a cool picture of him looking like a zombie so he can send it home to his mom. Like, that's just a fact. I want a cool picture of me looking like whatever. Everybody does. And so if I can help facilitate that, if I can help, like, hey, dude, like, here, get over there, like, come to the camera. There's nothing. There's all kinds of downtime on set, right? It's a lot of hurry up and wait. And so if I can just spend some of that time helping people kind of like build a portfolio, but like also feel good about the day, or like even if they're not that big of a part of a thing, like they got some cool memories from it. That's rad. Like that is so cool that I can help give somebody that thing, get their Instagram or get their email or whatever. And sure, networking, I guess it helps with networking, but it's like at the end of the day, like I'm having more fun taking fun pictures if I'm not on set or reading lines with somebody or helping whatever. I think Strange Harvest, and I helped produce on that because any day, like other actors would show up, and I would just, do you want to run lines? Are you comfortable? Like, what do you want to do? What do you need? Coming from mostly an acting standpoint, I kind of know what they need, and then I think I really liked casting as well because as a casting agent, like when you're on the other side of the table, like some guy reads. One of my buddies, Tom, he's a great writer. We've done a few projects, and Geeks, we had to cast people for that as well. And three people are perfect for the role, and you're like, oh crap, all three of these guys are great. And then it helps you remember, like, oh, it's not really personal. Like I don't know, like this guy looks like my cousin who's a jerk, so let's go with the other guy. I don't know. It's so impersonal. Like it really doesn't come down to talent a lot of ways. It doesn't come down to like you just weren't good at what you do. It's just like so subjective and just like, oh, I don't know, him. Let's do him. He has less of a drive or whatever. It's it gives you, I think the more you know about different aspects of the industry, the more you can just kind of let stuff go. Again, and it comes with acceptance. Like I really think some of the best acting in my life I've ever done has been for roles I didn't get. And it's just like, that's okay. Like I did it, and for whatever reason they chose somebody else, and that's fine. And so, but I wouldn't know that if I didn't help cast and I didn't help edit and I didn't know these things. I'm like, oh, they didn't use that thing. Oh well, whatever, it's fine. They probably had a reason. And people do have reasons. They don't, not everybody's out there being jerks. Like we're all just trying to make the thing. And we're trying to make the best product. We're trying to make the best version of the thing. And it's not always about you and what you want and what you need and your amazing performance. And that one time you got a really good cry for your, the dramatic scene. It's not always about you.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. Have you got any favorite memories from any of your filmmaking work?
I really liked, yeah, seeing my dead body in this upcoming thing. I took a bunch of pictures of me dead, which is morbid and fun. And then in Swipe Fiend, which you can see on YouTube, Swipe Fiend, working with the female actor who was the monster. The prosthetics and the mask that they had, she couldn't see very well. And so some of the scenes, like she'd have to be like running towards camera. And so like I'd have to like stop her from hitting camera sometimes. It's like, oh, hold up, hold back. And just like how tight it was. We shot for like 2 days in this Airbnb, and and it was rad. And everybody's just trying their hardest to be their best. They were like long nights. I'm like falling asleep. Like, you get there at 6 o'clock and it's like 5 a.m. and you're like, okay, like let's do it. Let's get the shot. And it was great. I think anything where like the crew is here, like the actor and the crews really meshed together. I really like those sets. So I've had a lot of really good experiences like that. Most recently, Strange Harvest and Swipe Fiend, again, both with Stuart Ortiz. But I've had a lot of good scenes. Even back to doing the Barracks, which was supposed to be like a Showtime pilot. Like I shaved my head. It was a military thing. We shot on an actual military base. I don't really know what fully happened with all of it. I saw it; it was good, but it's cool to have to shave your head for something. It's cool to like, oh, why'd you shave your head? It's like, oh, I'm acting in a thing. It's fine. Like, it's a cool thing to say. Like it feels good. It's like I'm doing the thing. I enjoy the process.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. So, which would you say has been the most challenging role in your career so far? It can be for acting, filmmaking, etc.
Um, I think so. I do these silly movie rap things on TikTok and Instagram. Brave little air fryer, like the Brave little toaster, but a Brave little air fryer. And so again, I'm not a rapper. I'm not a thing. I think if something scares you or you're not comfortable doing it, you should try. And so I saw The Northman, the Robert Eggers film about Vikings, and I said, I was still doing my movie review thing a little bit. I didn't have a lot of auditions coming in, and I'm just like, um, let's make a rap song about the Northmen, and I'm gonna make it myself with my buddies and whatever. And so writing a rap song, which not a rapper, finding a beat, finding a thing, and then presenting that to a buddy. I have a buddy, Manu Sandoval, who is a musician. He has a really good home studio. He has stuff on Spotify and things like that. He's just like, I'm like, hey, can you teach me how to do this? Like, I don't know, like instead of going like finally, be like finally or whatever. Just like the nuances, like, collaborating. I think I don't have fear collaborating. And so I'm like, can you show me how to be good at this? And so I made a rap song, which is ridiculous. And then taking that to my other buddy Stuart, I'm like, can we shoot a video to this? And he's like laughing at how hilarious and nonsensical it is, making a rap song about a Viking movie that Robert Eggers directed, starring Skarsgård. And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, I'm going to put on a wig and I'm going to be shirtless and we're going to cover me in mud and I'm going to have rubber axes and let's just do it. And it's just getting over the ego and the nonsense. Like I didn't have like a cool 8 pack. Like I'm a little chubby and whatever. And it's like, fuck, I don't care. Like, let's just make the thing. And the wig was it was whatever. But it was challenging because like I don't do this. I don't identify as a musician, but I know how to perform and I can do this. And so it was really challenging getting into the mindset of like, no, this is fine. This is good. Let's have fun. And then once I did, we've now made 12 songs and 9 music videos so far. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, yeah, it's definitely been working out, that's for sure.
Yeah, they're fun. And again, it's all collaboration with people that are better than me in a lot of areas and not being afraid to ask for help.
Yeah, absolutely. So, my final question for you today, Matthew, do you have any upcoming acting roles, filmmaking projects, or any other projects you're working on?
Yes, there's after this, I have a voiceover audition for a video game, which is cool, which is the goal. I love that. So completed Strange Harvest is coming out. There's also a music video, kind of short film. There's a band called Project 86, which I've loved for a long time. We shot this amazing green screen shoot with him. Sorry, with Andrew, the lead singer and writer, and them. So that'll be coming out soon if you follow Project 86. And then I did a Chinese soap opera, which is great. So the vertical, so they had these apps, right, for like, basically like Korean drama, but Chinese dramas. And their vertical like app entertainment industry was bigger than their movie industry last year. And so what's happening is a lot of money is being sent over to the States for us to make content for them. And they pay well and they're fun and they're chill. And so again, it was just like I set my ego aside and I did a vertical just to see what it was like. And it's a lot of models slash actors and it was great. I did like 4 days on it and it was a blast and everybody was so cool and fun and you can rewrite things and whatever. And so like I had a really, really good time. And so, I mean, I'm big in China. No, I'm just kidding. That's coming up and I'm probably doing more of those just for fun, Um, any Yeah, so I did that. I wrapped that. Oh, and I did a horror short called Siren coming out, where I got covered in blood, and it's about this rock band which has like a siren working through the front man. And so their single that they play causes their whole audience to go into this murderous frenzy. So super fun, super cool. So I've done a few things, and I got other things on the way. So I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, absolutely. Sounds like you're keeping busy. Lots of interesting stuff coming up. Yeah, that's
Yep, yep,
brilliant.
yep.
Yeah, great stuff. So that's all of my questions for you today, Matthew. It's been a pleasure talking to you on the podcast.
Yeah.
And
Thank you.
hopefully,
Hope to do it again.
yeah, absolutely. Hopefully, we can talk again at some point.
Yeah, I'll book some more Star Wars stuff and we'll talk about it.
Yeah, brilliant. Can't wait. So
Yeah,
look,
me neither. Me neither, brother.
yeah, so been a pleasure talking to you today. Looking forward to talking to you again at some point. Take care, Matthew, and
Thank
bye.
you, man. Later, brother.